all due respect, sometimes no respect is due.
Okay, Batman, we'll take it from here.
Okay. Why are you laughing?
My tummy hurts. He's in love with her, but for what it's worth, he's hooked.
Wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. No, don't you ever take your life out of mine. I'll fucking kill you, take you out to the bayou in the
I love you, I'm sorry. You were the best, but you were the worst. As sick as it sounds, I loved you first.
I miss you, and I will always miss you, but I cannot live like that, and it seems you cannot live any other way.
She couldn't be more different from me.
And when she got home that night, she felt sick to her stomach. Like enough to throw up. It wasn't the violence that scared her. It was the fact that she knew no matter what he did.
girl that I can't dig it.
Michelle. He needs me, he needs me, he needs me, he needs me, he needs.
My book is coming out tomorrow, and tomorrow people are gonna ask me, they're gonna be like, what'd you do today, Reagan? And I'm gonna be like, oh, nothing, just fulfilled a lifelong dream of mine at 19. What do I do now? What do I do now?
Did you know that I loved you?
And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid like I love you. I can see it in your eyes.
I wanna hold the hand inside you. My clone. Think I didn't see it. I look to you when I see. I'm not afraid of you now. Feeling back so I can see you, and I hate to install. You treat me like that. Know that I love you so bad. I let you treat me like that.
The worst feeling is when you find out you didn't mean as much to someone as you thought you did, and then you just look stupid for caring so much. I wish I didn't care about anything, but I do care. I care too much.
Dude, it's actually going so well. She's pretty, she's loyal. That's so awesome. I'm genuinely so happy for you, dude. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna cheat on her. Dude, yes! Right? Right?
Imagine there's no heaven.
birds may fly around, but I'll lay down. I feel safe and sound on solid ground.
I'll love you forever, Sid.
You will.
Yes. That's the problem.
I'm headed straight for the floor.
How was your day?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah. My day was good.
Never hate you.
Have you ever been? What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked. Do they teach you how to feel finger to finger? Interlinked. Do you long for having your heart interlinked? Interlinked. Do you dream about being interlinked?
And I can't wish all that I want, but it won't bring.
Y'all, this is my bitch Scotty.
And I'm from the South.
She runs the South.
Aren't you the greatest thing to ever exist? Aren't you the greatest thing to ever exist? And you don't seem to understand. A shame you see.
And he called me sensitive. What the fuck? Bitch, holy fucking shit! Shut the fuck up!
On the horn to prove that it wants me.
And he called me sensitive. What the fuck? Bitch, holy fucking shit! Shut the fuck up!
I tell her I'm nervous. What if he doesn't like me? What if I'm crazy and my best friend? She says, you can have your head in the clouds. I'll keep my feet on the ground. I'll tell you what's wrong if it ever comes, and you don't have to worry what's not yet done. You can like him, she says. I will hate him for you if you ever need it.
Never hate you.
Doing the things that I never would know. Treat me like what's he.
And then I go and spoil it all by saying something stupid.
Maybe I like this roller coaster. Maybe it keeps me. Baby, I'm yours.
I think you might have accidentally saved my life.
I wish we'd stayed.
I wish I'd stayed too. Now I wish I'd stayed. I wish I'd done a lot of things. I wish I had...
Fake written all over you. Hater written all over you. Fake.
You can call me up for words to ways, you know.
This was Saga bitch.
Are you kidding me? You're the most beautiful girl I've ever laid eyes on.
Whatever, you're just saying that.
And you can take my phone number.
What?
I just moved here from California.
Can't you see I'm fucking crying?
What's wrong?
Fuck you, get away!
Do you need some?
God! TikTok profile picture is a picture that I took of him. Oh my god, I'm gonna crash out! I cannot do this!
I hear the birds on the summer breeze. I drive. He needs me, he needs me, he needs me. So I can see you, and I hate to install.
Tell me you love me. Come back and hold me. Oh,
Baby, please come back. It wasn't you. Maybe it was me. Maybe our relationship isn't as crazy as it.
There's plenty of fish in the sea, but I don't want plenty. I want this one. Is that so much to ask? In the notion of millions, we convince ourselves there's no other option, that the one right in front of us is the sole answer. Even thinking that there could potentially be another is blasphemy. But now, all that's left is those other options. But it doesn't matter, because I've convinced myself that no matter how big the sea, there really is no one else for me.
One thing about me is I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll FaceTime you whenever I want to FaceTime you, whether you answer or not. I'll text you and say what's on my mind. Like, I'll text you and say, who's your number one on Snapchat? Why am I not your number one on Snapchat? Just as an example. Like, I do shit people think's embarrassing, but I don't give a fuck. Like, I feel like some people would think, like, FaceTiming somebody, even though they don't answer, is embarrassing, but in reality, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you don't answer, that's fine. I'll call you until you do answer. Because I'm most like crazy as fuck. But yeah, I really just don't give a fuck. And y'all might think it's embarrassing, but I don't give a fuck. It ain't embarrassing to me. I just don't give a fuck. But yeah, that's that. Go not give a fuck. Moral of the story, stop giving a fuck. And do what pleases your mind.
I promise you this. I'll always look out for you. That's what I'll do.
So it's like a combination people in Korea get. And he texted back, okay, exclamation. This was the last conversation that Yeram and her husband would have. Because when he got home from his night shift, just 81 days after she was sexually assaulted, Yeram was found dead. She had taken her own life. And sure, she had been the one to physically take her own life, but her father said, my daughter wasn't killed by her assaulter. She was killed by the male-dominated Korean military that doesn't treat women as colleagues. It's the military system that punishes victims of sexual assault and not the predators that killed my daughter.
Y'all hear about the lady that poisoned her parents and then lived with the bodies in her house for 4 years? Yeah, the police came busting in. They were like, you're under arrest for suspicion of offing your parents. She was like, suspicion? Don't be suspicious. I did that. We can confirm this today. They were like, we're going to check the house now. Is there anything we should know about? She was like, my dad is upstairs still. They were like, okay, you got to tell us where your mom is. She was treating her mom's body like it was show and tell. She was like, officers, it's kind of complicated to explain where I put my mom. Can I just bring you to it? Can we go together? Can we please? One of the officers looked sad because this is a sad story. And she was like, cheer up. Smile, guys. You caught a bad guy. Hey, come on. Why do we look so sad for it? This is a happy moment. Like, she was mad cooperative. She was like, I knew this would happen eventually. Like, I couldn't just be here for a 5th year with my parents in my house like this. Definitely not a 6. You feel me? I was surprised I made it this far. And it took no time at all for her to tell the police everything. They didn't even leave the house yet. She was like, yeah, so I poisoned 4 of my dad's drinks, but he only drank 2. Motherfucker wasn't thirsty. I don't know why. He usually is.
How is that possible?
Should we do some ASMR? Don't look at my nails. I need to get them done. Peach mango. So good. I have a little feeling that I'm about to piss you off. Well, actually, not me. Let me not take responsibility for that. Skylar, though. She reminds me of Alexi Treviso. 18-year-old Brooke Skylar Richardson. She went by Skylar, so we're going to be calling her Skylar. Skylar was born and raised in Carlisle, Ohio. She lived at home with her mom, Kim, her dad, Scott, and her brother, Jackson. They were a happy little family. Jackson played football. Skylar was a cheerleader. However, from a very young age, Skylar suffered with body dysmorphia. Her relationship with food was not the best. It was something that massively to control over a lot of aspects in her life. She was also a pretty private person. She didn't care or want to share things that she was dealing with and things in her personal life, especially when it came to her parents. She loved her parents, but she didn't want to overshare or tell her parents too much because it seems like she just wasn't comfortable with it. It wasn't really in her character. However, her parents were aware of her relationship with food and the struggles that she went through with that. They did take her to see a doctor on multiple occasions. Going into 2017, this case was not long ago, but around 2017, Skylar started dating a boy named Brandon, and their relationship looked happy. It looked like it was actually a pretty healthy relationship for her. She began eating more. She started gaining a lot of the weight that she had lost back, which her parents were happy about. Brandon himself was a nice guy. All of Skylar's family really liked him, and Skylar was glowing. She looked really happy. April 26th of 2017, Skylar and her mom go to an OBGYN appointment together. It was Skylar's first appointment with a gynecologist. She was a little bit nervous. She went into the office and her mom waited in the waiting room. At that visit, Skylar was informed that she was pregnant. Not only was she pregnant, but they also let her know that she was already in her third trimester. We know now that at the time of the appointment, Skylar was already 36 weeks pregnant. And as far as we can tell, that was the first time that Skylar found out that she was pregnant herself. She freaked out inside of the doctor's office and she ran out. She refused any kind of care. She needed time to process it. But when she walked out to the waiting room where her mom was, she looked like she was crying. Her mom could tell, but she did not say anything. Skylar didn't share the news. She just told her that she was crying because she was scared because it was her first time at the gynecologist, but she did not tell her mom that she found out that she was pregnant. They go back home. Skylar does not tell any of her friends or family, and a few days after that appointment, she goes to prom with her boyfriend. And I guess she's just one of those people that did not show. She tried on her prom dress months earlier, and when she tried it on again at 36 weeks pregnant, it honestly did not look that much different. Time went on, time passed. Skylar found out that she was pregnant at 36 weeks in April, and now it's July, and nobody knows about it yet. That was until July 14th, 2017, the police show up at Skylar's front door. Her parents answer the door, and the cops say that they're there to talk to Skylar. They say that she's not in any trouble, but they do need her to come down to the station to answer some questions about a situation. Their parents were so confused, they had no idea why cops would show up to talk to their daughter. Just like they had no idea about the rumors that were going around claiming that Skylar had been pregnant, had given birth, and had buried her baby in her own backyard. Skylar's taken to the station. They ask her about the situation, and she does not try to deny it. I mean, she can't really because there are records showing that she went to an appointment where she was notified of her pregnancy. Her story was that yes, she did go to that doctor's appointment. She found out that she was pregnant, but 2 months after that, she went back to the doctor's office. She let them know that she had given birth to a baby that was stillborn. Skylar claimed that the day that she gave birth, she began having labor pains. She walked down to the basement at her house into the bathroom and gave birth to a baby girl. She claimed the baby girl was not breathing. She did not have a heartbeat, and Skylar tells officers that she did everything she could to help the baby. But when she realized that she would not be able to save it, she walked out to her own backyard, dug up a small grave, and buried her baby. While investigators are in the room with Skylar, others are informing the parents of what's going on. I cannot imagine the shock on those parents' faces. They must have felt heartbreak. I mean, it was their grandbaby as well. When the parents eventually do go into the room to talk to Skylar, Skylar starts crying, saying, I'm sorry, mommy. And her father says, you should have just told us. Meanwhile, another team of officers is back at Skylar's house attempting to find the remains of the baby. They quickly are able to locate the skeletal remains that were buried in the backyard. They let Skylar go home. However, 6 days later, they ask her to come back in. They needed to talk to her some more because the remains had been taken for forensic testing. And the pathologist reported that the baby's bones looked almost charred, as if they had been burned. They asked Skylar about that, and initially she denies it. She says she doesn't know why the bones would be in that condition until she changes her story, and she says that it must have been from when she attempted to cremate the baby's body herself using a lighter. During that round of questioning, she also confessed to investigators that the baby was actually born alive. And with that, Skylar was put in handcuffs, arrested, and charged with reckless homicide. The family paid her bail, and she was able to go home awaiting trial. When she later showed up to trial, her charges had changed. They changed to aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, corpse, tampering with evidence, and endangerment. Her trial began September 3rd of 2019. Her defense was trying to argue that she gave a false confession under pressure. They were claiming that Skylar would have not confessed to it and that officers made her feel like she had to. On the other side, the prosecution was arguing that 1, she confessed to it more than once, 2, they had found Google searches looking up how to get rid of a baby, and 3, she was at the OBGYN appointment 11 days before giving birth. And at her appointment, the baby was healthy. She was perfectly fine. But somehow in 11 days, the baby went from being healthy to being born stillborn. Another big argument the prosecution has that I have not mentioned yet was the claim that Skylar's mom was aware. The doctor's office, the OBGYN, had accidentally sent positive pregnancy results to her mother instead of to Skylar. Skylar's mom took a screenshot of the email, texted it to Skylar, and said, "What is this about?" And apparently, allegedly, Skylar was able to convince her mom that it was a mistake and that it was not true. She was not pregnant. However, some believe that the mom really did know that it was true and that she didn't want Skylar to give birth because the mom, I guess, really cared about their family image. She had this perfect family image that she wanted to present, and she didn't want her young daughter to give birth and risk receiving a different kind of image that she wanted to perceive. There are texts between Skylar and her mother that really are fishy. Let me just explain. When Skylar was trying on her prom dress, she was worried that it was not going to fit. She texted her mom, and one of those sentences said, quote, "I want to look amazing again more than anything. I hate being like this so much." And the day that she gave birth, she texted her mom saying, quote, "I am literally so excited now just for dinner to wear something cute. Yay, my belly is back." If your daughter that struggles with food and you know that texted you, "Yay, my belly is back," and then it turns out that she was pregnant and she's being accused of murdering her baby, I don't know, you tell me what you think. Another time, Skylar texted her mom that she lost 20 pounds, which to her mom responded and said, quote, "I could cry, you are literally my hero." What? And guys, on September 12th of 2019, Skylar was found not guilty. The only thing she was sentenced to was 3 years of probation. Yeah, I don't have many words. Let me know what you guys think. I'm dying to know your thoughts. I was typing up this case and I was like wondering what you guys were gonna comment. Oh, I'm ready to chat in the comments. Anyway, thank you for listening to this video. Thank you for spending time with me today. I love you so, so much. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you. It's fascinating to me. It really is so intriguing. Imagine him cradling the tape recorder, leaning back in his chair, looking at you in the eye, saying, "I'm not crazy. I'm not a monster. I don't have split personality. I'm just a normal individual." Imagine saying that, knowing the crimes that you have committed. That is the scariest part to me. I can't comprehend how eyes that have seen the most unspeakable thing, the most gruesome crimes, those same eyes can look at you in the eye and say, "I didn't do anything. I'm just a normal guy." That is terrifying. Ted Bundy, I tried to ignore his name, but I just can't any longer. I've been gone, I've been on vacation, but now I'm back and I thought, what better way to make it up to you guys than do a longer video about Ted Bundy? So here we are, it's gonna be long and it's going to be disturbing. Fair warning. Ted Bundy was born in Vermont to his mom, Eleanor Louise. His mother was still living at home when she gave birth. Who the father is unclear. For the first few years of his life, Ted was raised to believe that his grandparents were his parents and that his actual mother was his older sister. However, he would discover the truth eventually, and when his mother decided it was time for them to move out, she took Ted and they moved to Seattle. It was in Seattle where Ted's mom met Johnny Bundy. She married him, and that is where the Bundy last name comes from. Johnny and Eleanor had more kids together, and Johnny ended up adopting Ted. Ted held a lot of resentment towards his mother for his confusing childhood, for allowing him to believe that his grandparents were his parents, and then for never telling him who his father was. When he was 14 years old, Ted found his birth certificate, and the father was listed as unknown, and it made him so angry, and he associated that anger towards his mother. He was also not the biggest fan of his stepdad. He would complain a lot about the fact that he was not his real father, and he disliked him even more because he wasn't very bright. His entire life, Ted held people who were wealthy and smart to a higher standard. Basically, if you were not rich and you were not smart, Ted would look down on you, and that included his stepdad. As a child, he was described as a little bit of an outcast, but he always did very good in school. He later spoke about how during his childhood, he chose to be alone because he didn't understand how to make friends. He didn't know how to build relationships, but he never saw anything wrong with it. Referring to himself, Ted later said, quote, "Some people perceived me as being shy and introverted. I didn't go to dances, I didn't go to social outings. I was pretty, you might call me straight, but not a social outcast in any way." He was a social outcast. After graduating high school, Ted decided that he wanted to go to law school. He wanted to become a lawyer and also get a degree in psychology. During law school, he met Diane Edwards. Ted would later describe Diane as the only woman that he ever really loved. Diane came from a very wealthy family. She was very smart, two of the most valuable things in Ted's mind, and he quickly became obsessed with her, but he was not only obsessed, he was also jealous. He was jealous of his girlfriend because she had everything that he had ever wanted. She was smart, she was beautiful, she was rich, she had a nice car, she had a nice home, she was loved, and she was well respected by all of her peers, and Ted saw all of that. And it was everything that he had ever wanted for himself, so he quickly fell in love with her, but it sounds like it was for the wrong reasons. His relationship with Diane ended after a few years, and in 1974, shortly after the breakup, Ted would break into the house of 18-year-old Karen Sparks. Karen looked a lot like Diane, Ted's first girlfriend. They both had thick, long brown hair that was parted down the middle. The similarities between Diane and many of his victims were very noticeable. Ted broke into Karen's house while she was still sleeping. He snuck into her bedroom, grabbed a metal rod from her bed frame, and hit her in the head with it until she was unconscious. He then essayed her using that same metal rod. He used so much force that it caused extensive internal injuries. It even ruptured her bladder. He continued to harm her and hit her with the metal rod until he was satisfied, I guess, and then he left. Thankfully, Karen would survive the attack, but she was in the hospital for a very, very long time and was left with permanent brain damage because of what Ted did to her. That was the first victim that we know of, the first victim that Ted confessed to, but we will really never know if he had victims prior. The very next month, Ted broke into the house of 21-year-old Linda Ann Healy. He beat her until she was unconscious. He dressed her with new clothing, put her in his car, drove to a secluded area where he would essay her, murder her, and dispose of her body. By July of 1974, Ted Bundy had ended the lives of 8 women, and he used or had 2 main strategies to pick out his victims. It seems like he always did it one of 2 ways. He would either break into their houses while they were sleeping, or he would pretend to be injured, putting on a fake cast on his arm or finding crutches and using those to pretend that he was hurt. And he would go out in public and make girls believe that he needed help. When they offered to help him, he would lure them to his car, pull out a crowbar, and hit them hard enough to knock them out, and then he would shove them inside of his car. It was around this time as well when Ted met Elizabeth Clover. We're gonna call her Liz. Liz was a single mother. She worked as a secretary at the UW School of Medicine. Liz and Ted would fall in love, and they would be together for the next 5 years. Ted was incredible to Liz. He worshipped the ground that she walked on, and she loved him for it. She quickly fell in love with his charming personality. She thought he was the perfect guy, not only for her, but her family loved him as well. He also quickly became a father figure for her little 3-year-old daughter, and that just made Liz love him even more. And their little life at home was wonderful. It was perfect. It was the kind of life that so many people dream of having one day. But after dark, when Liz and her daughter would go to bed, Ted would go out on the town and he would live a completely different life. A violent, gruesome life of crime. Now let's talk about what life looked like from an outsider perspective as someone living in Seattle. The community was terrified, and young women, right? Women's plural, woman singular. Young women were living in fear as more and more girls kept going missing. Girls would go missing, their family and friends would report them missing, and bodies of girls would just be found in such horrible conditions, showing what they suffered and what they went through before they lost their lives. It was the biggest mystery in town. No one could figure out who was responsible for doing this, and as soon as they thought maybe they were on the right track, they would get interrupted because a new victim would be found. In regards to more than one victim, witnesses would come forward and they would tell police that they would see these women prior to them going missing, talking to a man near his vehicle that was a tan-colored Volkswagen. And some witnesses said they overheard the man introducing himself as Ted, which is how police get a name, and they draw up a sketch, they put it out to the public and let them know that they're looking for someone that looks like this sketch and is named Ted. Reminder, Ted and Liz are still together at this point, so when the sketch came out, Liz's coworkers put it in front of her and said, hey, this kind of looks like your Ted, maybe you should be careful, maybe it might be him. But Liz shut down those rumors immediately. In her eyes, there was absolutely no possible way that her boyfriend, her best friend, the father figure to her daughter, could do anything like that. The thought wasn't even there. It wasn't an option. At this time, it was non-existent in Liz's mind. There was not a world in which her Ted Bundy could commit these crimes. And although Liz didn't think that her Ted was the Ted that authorities were looking for, she did start paying closer attention to his behavior. And she noticed that slowly but surely, Ted was getting a little bit more aggressive, especially when they would be intimate together. Ted loved to have control in the bedroom, and one time he even asked Liz to just lay there and pretend that she was dead. Pretty wild and concerning behavior now that we know what he did. By August of 1974, so many girls were going missing, too many girls. Ted decided that it was time for him to move away to avoid getting on police's radar. He applied and got accepted to another law school in Utah. He would move out to attend law school in Utah, leaving Liz and her daughter behind. They would stay in Seattle and he would go to Utah to go study. Within the very first day of Ted living in this new place in Utah, a woman goes missing. By November, 4 more women disappeared. disappear. Ted continued his routine of going to public places like public beaches. He would pretend that he was injured. He would introduce himself as Ted, ask for help until the women got close to his car, which is when he would knock them out, shove them inside of his car, and he would take out the front seat, the passenger seat of his vehicle, store that in the trunk to make space for his victims so they could lie there unconscious and handcuffed without anyone seeing them while he drove around. He would drive them to a secluded wooded area, beat them until they were no longer alive. He would then SA them and leave their bodies. I didn't know this detail. This was new for me when I was researching this case, but at times Ted would his victims and he would take the heads, only the heads, back to his apartment with him, and he would put makeup on them and he would hang out with the heads and talk to them as if it was a real person. He would kiss the heads and use them for his own pleasure. We know that he did this to at least 12 of his victims. Again, throughout this whole time, Ted is still living his double life. He has his happy little family back at home and he keeps presenting himself as a charming, good guy. From an outsider's perspective, he was seen as a handsome, friendly guy that had absolutely everything going for him. He was attending law school, he was studying psychology, he was involved in politics, and he did give off the impression that he was a very well put together, intelligent man. There were times actually that police did talk to him about the crimes because they had received tips of this Volkswagen that matched Ted's car. The few descriptions and tips they have received also matched Ted's appearance. Police would talk to him, but all they would see was this clean, smart, soon-to-be lawyer man, so when Ted would say that he had absolutely nothing to do with it, they would just believe him. Back at home, Liz's friends and family are telling her, look, I know that you don't want to think that your Ted might be responsible for this, but as soon as Ted left, girls stopped going missing here. Now they are going missing there, in the state that Ted moved to at the time that Ted moved. That's when Liz started thinking this is really weird because it seems like anywhere that Ted goes, the crimes follow. One day, Liz's daughter was getting ready to be baptized and Ted went over there the night before to help them prep for the next morning. The night that he showed up, he left early, and that same night, a girl went missing, and coincidentally, Ted showed up late to the baptism the next morning. I think that was the first time that Liz really started wondering if her Ted Bundy, if the love of her life, really could be capable of everything that she was seeing on TV and in the newspapers. Liz got so suspicious that she actually ended up calling investigators saying, I think the person that you're looking for might be my boyfriend. But at the time, the police were getting so many calls like that of girls saying that they think their boyfriend might be the person doing all these crimes, which if you